I'm gonna watch some football highlights, y'all. Let's see.
Was cut short by his addictions and his trouble with the mafia, but they completely ignore the fact that he had already become the best player on the planet way before he even arrived in Europe. Hadn't it been for some old guy in a suit deciding that players born outside Europe couldn't win the Ballon d'Or, Maradona would have been sweeping all those awards pretty much from the moment.
Yo, chat, who y'all think? Who y'all got? Who the GOAT? Like, who better? Maradona or Pele? Even though it's been like that for years. But who's y'all GOAT in general? Who y'all think is your GOAT? Who's y'all favorite best player of all time? Y'all can tell me in the chat.
When he first stepped on the pitch. I mean, look, in 1986, they ended the Ballon d'Or to Igor Belanov, and don't get me wrong, he's one of the greatest, but there has never been a single year where one player was as obviously superior to everyone else as Maradona in 86. And you don't even need to imagine how the rankings would have looked if they could have voted for him, because just as France football had the Ballon
Maradona in 86 is one of the most legendary of all time. In the good and the bad. That handball, oh God, that one was crazy. That goal against England alone, oh my God. It reminded me of the Ankara Messi. Ankara Messi, go. Let's check it. Let me see, chat. Let me just put it for y'all. Let me see. You do that. Watch, just so y'all can see. Ankara Messi.
Ja cap a la dreta per Xavi, assistència de Xavi més cap a la dreta per Messi, Messi, immens Messi, encara Messi, gol!
Ballon d'Or, just 500 miles away in Turin, Guerin Sportivo, the oldest and one of the most prestigious sports magazines in the world, had a very similar award, the World Player of the Year. And as the name suggests, they did not discriminate. That year, Maradona took 90 votes, while every other player on the face of the earth put together only managed 6. So now that I've shown you this award is as credible as any other one, let me tell you that all the way back in '79, when Maradona was still an 18-year-old playing for Argentinos Juniors, they had already named him the best on the planet. And even better, not only was that the year the award was founded, meaning that he could have easily taken it at an even younger age, but from there on out, till the day he left for Europe at 21 as the most expensive player of all time, he was on the podium every single year. I mean, no wonder. He was a creative midfielder that from the age of 15 to 21, playing 5 of those 6 years for a team that had just been on the verge of relegation, scored 144 goals and provided at the very least 56 assists in 206 matches.
Damn, chat. What the fuck? That's what? 200 goals in 200 matches? Wait, 200 goals, my bad. 200 goals / assists in 206 matches? That is so impressive. That's basically a contribution of almost a goal a match. Almost. It's not fully one. Because 200 by 6 is like something like 90 something percentage. Yeah.
And before you ask, what do you mean he was 15? Well, people don't seem to understand this, but Maradona was sort of a child star. Like, the kid was famous nationwide way before he even went pro. It was only at the age of 9 that one of his best friends persuaded him to come to training with him at Argentinos Juniors, and well, an hour later, as the coach was there that day wrote, they say people witness at least one miracle in their lives, but most do not even realize it. I certainly did. It came on a rainy Saturday in 1969 when a kid did things with a ball that I'd never seen.
1969, damn. We're about to be in 2029. That's almost 50 years ago. What the? That is crazy.
In my life. About 2 years later, his team had gone 136 matches without a defeat, and Diario Clarín, the biggest newspaper in the country, had already written about a street kid with the class and manners of a star. But that was not what I meant when I said he was famous. Over the years, the legend of this kid became so great that Argentinos Juniors began paying him to go on the pitch at halftime and entertain the audience. With a tennis baller in orange, the boy would do what the grown-ups couldn't do with an actual football. No one went to get a hot dog at halftime. They all stood and watched in awe. In one match against Boca, the crowd even booed the players when they came back from the locker room because they'd rather sit and watch the kid a bit longer. Before you knew it, he was on national television, going from talk show to talk show, showing off his skills. You thought it was weird when 14-year-old Xavi Simons got 1 million followers on Instagram. That's nothing. Once Maradona turned 15, he had gone up 5 levels in the space of a year, and then, with the team approaching relegation and a new manager desperate to shake things up, he brought him up to the first team. Fights broke out in the training sessions as people came from all over the country only to find that the stands were full. And the day of his debut, as much as this has to be more myth than fact, some people from Buenos Aires claim that 5 million people came to watch the match. Safe to say that the stadium was overcrowded, but those who made it in got a show. In the second half, the manager called Maradona up to the sidelines and told him, "Come on, Diego. Just do what you always do, and if you can, nutmeg someone." And so the youngest player in the history of Argentinian football came in, and the moment he got the ball, the whole stadium yelled out, "Olé." He had nutmegged someone with his first touch. By the final whistle, even the visiting stands had given him a standing ovation. As Maradona would famously say, "That day, I felt I held the sky in my hands for the first time." 2 months later, having made only 11 appearances and scored his first brace, out of nowhere, the national team manager Cesar Menotti set up a game between them and the under-20s, and by the end, he had already realized he had no choice, announcing that Maradona, barely 16 years old at the time, would be joining the first team. To this day, he's still by far the youngest. No one gets even remotely close. Still, once back with his club, the madness didn't stop. 31
Man, what was I doing at 16 years old? I was just chilling in my bedroom doing homework. Oh, this is when the whole 2020 ever happened. Yeah, I was 16 in 2020. It's crazy time. No gonna lie.
goal contributions in 49 matches, at one point, for the first time in his career, getting the ball back from his own half, dribbling the entire team, and scoring. We all just wish the footage was a bit better. Regardless, you gotta be asking, how come no one signed him? Well, the offers were there, but just like Pele, at the time, Argentina was ruled by a brutal military dictatorship, and they just refused to let him go. By 1978, with Maradona now 17 and the World Cup to be played in the summer, precisely in Argentina, he only had one goal, and that was to make sure his name was on the list. Over the next few months, it became clear that he was already reaching a whole new level, so when Menotti announced the first list of 40, he was there. Then he cut the list down to 25, and still, he had made it. However, at the last minute, the military had put pressure on Menotti to bring in Norberto Alonso, and suddenly, among those 25, there were 4 attacking midfielders. Alonso was untouchable, Valencia was like a son to Menotti, and Villa, he had literally never been called up by any other manager. Clearly, he meant something to him, and so, one day, he gathered the players in the hotel's garden and, using his age as an excuse, announced that Maradona was going to be dropped from the team. The kid fell to the ground and sat against a tree, tears running down his face. The only thing he could say was, "How am I going to tell my father about this?" He had promised him he would be at the World Cup. The next day, El Gráfico wrote an article about it, and the title was "The Saddest Day for the National Team," but that sadness quickly gave way to anger. Only a few days later, trying to get revenge on Menotti, Maradona dropped what was the best performance of his career so far, scoring twice, assisting another 2, and then getting even more fired up when the national team ended up taking the title without him, finishing the Metropolitano Championship as the top scorer for the first time in his career, totaling 35 goal contributions in 35 matches, though still, Argentinos Juniors didn't even reach the final stage. They were outright a one-man team. They knew they couldn't lose them, and the next year, when Sheffield United made an offer of $850,000, about the same Barcelona had paid for Cruyff 6 years earlier, only missing out on the signing after their director of football pulled the plug, hilariously insisting that no 18-year-old could ever be worth so much money. Argentinos Juniors sounded the alarms and signed the first ever shirt sponsoring deal in Argentina, managing to profit just enough that they could keep Maradona for a bit longer. And thank God they did, because just a few months later, after yet again finishing the Metropolitano as the top scorer, he was called up for the Under-20 World Cup, and once more, I guess the guy wanted to prove that despite being only 18, he belonged on the main team, because right on the first game, he went out and scored twice, first making it past 4 players just with one touch and putting it in between the keeper's legs, then getting in between another four, making his way out and smacking it in. Eventually scoring another in the final group stage match, going into the knockouts, scoring from a free kick in the quarters, then a header in the semis, and another free kick in the final to not only win the whole thing, but take the Player of the Tournament award and a silver boot. Finally, coming back to Argentina, becoming the top scorer of the National Championship as well, despite Argentinos somehow still missing out on the playoffs, totaling 38 goal contributions in 32 matches and getting named not only Argentinian Footballer of the Year, but also the Sportsman of the Year, while taking the South American Player of the Year award, and as I already mentioned at the beginning, being named by Guerin Sportivo as the best player on the planet. So I leave you the question again. That year, Kevin Keegan won the Ballon d'Or. Do you think he would have won it and the rest of the world had a say in it? One thing is sure, is
Yo, chat. It is like he was so good, but the fact that they didn't let him get on the national team when he was 16 or 17, yeah, kind of messed up because he was that good. He could have gone on there, but obviously they just made the excuse of his age being young. What would have happened if he would have had 2 under his belt? What if he put our time for Foreman? He would have been gone to Europe, I think. Younger. I'm not sure what the rules were at the time. He would have been gone by then.
his only title was a Bundesliga and his numbers were nowhere near. But well, that wasn't Maradona's best season at Argentinos either. In 1980, despite missing a ton of decisive matches since he was always out with the national team, Maradona not only managed to become the top scorer of the Metropolitano for the 3rd year in a row, but led them to an unprecedented 2nd place finish, above even the great Boca Juniors, which made for a funny story. Once in the Nacional, the day before they were about to face Boca, the legendary Hugo Gatti was asked if he was scared of facing Maradona, knowing that a defeat to Argentinos Juniors meant their elimination from the tournament, and foolishly, he replied, "They've been hyping up that fatty too much. He should be worrying about his weight instead of worrying about me." Ironically, I don't think Maradona was worried about him at all. The day of the match, the manager asked Diego if he was okay, if these comments had gotten to him, and he replied, "I was planning on putting 2 goals past him. Now that I heard what he said, I'll make sure to score at least 4. So, first, Maradona won a penalty trying to hit a Rabona and scored it. For the second, he scored a free kick from an impossible angle. For the third, he controlled the ball with his chest and hit a kind of acrobatic volley. And to finish it all off, he made it past everyone, forcing a defender to bring him down right at the edge of the box. And, well, mission accomplished. But even better, with 18 goals in 11 matches, Maradona finally led Argentinos Juniors to the final stage of the Nacional Championship. 3 more wins and this relegation team would have conquered Argentina. But unfortunately, Maradona had to miss the quarters to join the national team once again, and without him, they succumbed instantly. Though, no matter what, he still took the top scorer award, becoming the first man in the history of Argentina to top the charts in 4 of the country's top competitions consecutively. He had finished his season with 66 goal contributions in 55 matches. Having just turned 20 years old, Maradona had already scored 116 goals for his club. At this point, it was becoming more and more clear that keeping a player of this level at Argentinos just wasn't right. The tension inside the club was rising. River Plate was offering Maradona the chance to become the most well-paid player in the country. Barcelona was suddenly on his tail, and the man himself wanted to go and save his childhood club Boca Juniors, who were on a rapid descent towards mediocrity. As much as the military dictatorship insisted on keeping him around for longer, well, let's just say that, conveniently, in February, Barcelona's representatives traveled all the way down to Argentina to negotiate his transfer, not with anyone from Argentinos, but the Admiral of the Navy, Carlos Lacoste. Matter of fact, the meeting was held in an office inside a concentration camp, but ignoring the ethics of negotiating with tyrants, by the end of the evening, Barcelona had secured his signing for the equivalent of $7.6 million,
Damn, 7.6 M's? Y'all know how much money was that back in the 80s? I'm pretty sure it was a lot back in the 80s. That is life-changing money. That more. That money. Them Benjamins.
Making it the most expensive transfer in the history of football, nearly doubling the previous record even though it had remained untouched for 8 years. And even then, only under one condition. Maradona had to stay in Argentina for a year and a half more until the World Cup was to be played. And not at Argentinos, but on loan at Boca Juniors, meaning that in an instant, he made it his mission to bring Boca back to the top and went at it at full speed. In his first game, he scored 2 and assisted another 2, one of them with a trivela to win 4-1. In his second, he clinched the 2-goal draw, scoring both himself, then 2 goals and assists over his next 4 matches, then coming up against huge rivals River Plate for the first time and assisting 1 and dribbling the keeper to score another as they defeated them 3-0, before scoring this absurd goal just
Man, look at him. He juked the. He waited for the defender to come up. No way. He was cold. He was like that.
2 matches later, not to mention that he got an assist as well. But though, then he did slow down. 4 matches later, he was back at it, finishing it off with 12 goal contributions in the last 14 matches, meaning that already Boca had won the Metropolitano Championship, Maradona's first ever club title. And yet, it's hard not to resent that season when Maradona went even harder in the Nacional, being involved in 18 goals in 11 matches, only to get sent off in the first leg of the quarterfinals and watched from the stands as his teammates choked their lead. In fact, I dare say that with 44 goal contributions in 40 matches, 10 of those coming from free kicks, which, for comparison, is 2 more than Messi ever managed in a season, the guy could have won Guerin Sportivo's World Player of the Year yet again, but instead, he tied Zico on 26 points, leading to a tiebreaker in which he ended up losing, and before there was time for any second chances, Maradona was already gone. Before the next season even started, he was called up early to the national team's training camp, and in a flash, for the first time ever, Maradona was about to play a World Cup, precisely in Spain, where every La Liga fan was staring into his soul, trying to figure out just exactly what was this phenomenon they had imported from the other side of the Atlantic. But if there was one thing they all knew, it was that if they could stop Maradona, they could stop Argentina. And right on that first match against Belgium, the narrative was set. They kicked him, they hurt him, they beat him down until the final whistle was heard, and in the end, Argentina lost 1-0. And as much as at first not even this kind of abuse was able to stop Maradona from shining and making it to the second.
Man, why is it the same with Messi? Everybody always wanted to injure him. I never watched Maradona as a kid because I'm not that age, but I got to watch Messi. Yeah, pretty much same exact play style. It's crazy.
Second group stage, destroying Hungary with 2 goals in an all-time great performance. Against El Salvador, he watched as a player kicked the referee but still walked away without a red card, proving to him there was no limit to the violence they'd allow on the pitch. And well, then came Italy, and so did his biggest nightmare, Claudio Gentile. Argentina lost that match 2-1, but neither of those 3 goals was what remained in the memories of those who watched it. What did was that, before the first minute had elapsed, Gentile was already on a yellow card. As he would go on to say, I knew that it was only a problem if he could get to the ball, so he made sure he didn't, even if that meant he had to break him. By the end, Maradona had broken the record for the most fouls received in a single World Cup match. He had been brought down 26 times, and yet, Gentile remained on the pitch.
They could not stop him. He was too good. Yeah, he was too good. If it's a player like that trying to foul you the whole game, basically 26 is a record, you're doing something right. You're like that. He was him. He was him.
Pitch for the full 90, and still, it got worse. When with Argentina trailing 3 goals behind Brazil, at the Camp Nou, one of their players kicked Juan Barbas in the head, leading Maradona to hit him back, being sent off in tears as he got booed by his future home crowd and got sentenced to 4 more years of waiting until he could get another chance to conquer the world. But not all that happened that summer was something he'd wished to forget. It was then and there that the butterfly effect went into action. Once, a boy showed up to training thanks to an invite from a friend. Now, 13 years later, his influence had not only instilled a philosophy of beautiful, intelligent football that had made Argentinos Juniors one of the most admired clubs in the country, but it inspired generation after generation, turning their academy into one of the greatest in South America, sprouting the likes of Redondo, Diego Placente, Cambiaso, and Riquelme. But on top of all of that, when the 7.6 Placente, Cambiaso, and Riquelme
I heard about him, but I've never seen him play. I'm gonna need to educate myself on Redondo, Diego Placente, and Cambaso. I need to reset that.
But on top of all of that, when the $7.6 million of his transfer fee landed in their pockets, suddenly they had a budget like no other club in the country, and they made sure to put it to good use. If before Maradona they were petrified by their imminent relegation, 2 years after his departure, they had taken the Metropolitano title, and the year after that, they had achieved the impossible, winning the Libertadores. But still, when they decided to rename their stadium, they didn't even consider naming it after one.
Yo, shout out to Daily Dose of Football. They have good documentary. Y'all should go check them out.